What's up, guys? Quadrifter here. Today I want to take you through my Syma X8C conversion. I don't like the brushed motors. They're not as strong. They're not as durable as brushless motors. So first I started out by disassembling the X8C. There's tutorials on YouTube how to do so, so I'm not really going to go into that. But once you have it disassembled, what you're going to do is use 1 millimeter by 1 inch or 1 millimeter by 3/4 of an inch standoff for the main supports. And these supports, they're going to hold the platform for your power distribution board and flight controller. What I did was I bought a piece of 1.5 millimeter 3K carbon fiber. You can get it for about, I don't know, $35 on Amazon. Small sheet. You're not going to need a very large sheet of it. But then after that, I cut that out. Then I cut a piece of plexiglass for a template, and I marked it, like I taped it to the piece of carbon fiber, marked where the screw holes are going to be, and then I used that to drill through. After that, I got a piece of string and I tied it from the center hole on the arms, and I took it diagonally to the arm across. And this was to center the flight controller. You really want to have the flight controller centered where the path of your motors intersect in the center. Once you do that, it's real easy to do this with like an old power distribution board that you had laying around. Tape it to the carbon fiber and then pull the strings out from under it and just use a drill and just drill right through it. So much easier than trying to use a template or anything else like that. Once you get those holes drilled, what you're going to use is, I believe it's a 3 millimeter standoff, the shortest ones you can use. I would recommend putting these on before you screw this piece of carbon fiber to those standoffs. And I used hot glue to keep the standoffs from backing out, due to vibrations. But anyway, put the smallest standoffs that you can get, like the shortest length, put those on first, then secure the carbon fiber plate to the standoffs. And I also saved the switch from the Syma, and I wired it to work the lights. So instead of using my receiver or my radio to switch the lights on, I just wanted to be able to switch the lights on when it gets dark. I have no use for flipping the lights on while I'm in the air. I don't have any use for that. And I'm using a D4R2 receiver, and I want to run it in PPM mode instead of PWM. That way I have more channels to use. Most people are probably going to comment, hey, you should have used an X8R or something with more channels. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay light, and I'm perfectly fine with the range I'm getting out of this. Don't care. This is simply something that's a little bit sturdier than the Syma XC and a little bit more powerful. So after I wired the switch back in, I started splitting the wires to go to each arm. And as you can see, after I split the wires, I soldered in some LED strips that have 3 LEDs apiece on them. The last one I bent back so it will shine up through the top lens on the Syma's arm. The power distribution board that I use is the Aris. Everybody's got their own preference. I like the Aris because it's got an LED spot. It's got a 12-volt spot for all my VTX gear. And it's also got a 5-volt spot to run my flight controller. Now, some people use ESCs that have a UBEC on them. I don't. I use opto electronic speed controllers simply because they're lighter. So I need an extra 5-volt supply to run my flight controller. So that's why I use that. In this next shot, I just plugged up AA batteries and I connected it to the main power pads on the power distribution board just to see how this would look. And it looks pretty cool. That's one of the main reasons why I liked it. This step, however, I tried doing this and it doesn't work as well as, you would have expected it to. So just don't do that. It's a waste of time to try and drill this out and get everything working. So the next thing I did was I wired in my ESCs. Basically, you take your red to the positive, black to the negative, and that's pretty much it. That's the easiest way I can say to do your ESCs. Make sure you lay them down, the wires. Don't let the wires pop up because you're going to have to fit a flight controller on top of this mess. Also, the orange and yellow wires are my power wires for my flight controller. I ran out of red and black. I know what I color coded them as. You can color code them with whatever you want. So after I wired in my ESCs, I added my motors. These are Multi-Star 2212 920 kV motors. 2 of them are clockwise threaded and the other 2 are counterclockwise threaded. The clockwise threaded motors have the black tops. They're going to go on the right rear arm and the left front arm. The counterclockwise motors have the green tops, and they are going to go on the left rear arm and the right front arm. That's just simply so you have the motors spinning in the right directions. So after that, to secure the motors to the arms, I had to shave off all of this stuff that was in the way. You can smooth it out a little bit better than I did, but you're not going to be able to get the motors on there any other way, so you're going to have to shave those down. Or if you can make a platform to go above it, that's even better because there's less of a chance that the props are going to hit the sides of your drone. To attach my motors, I used the bolts that came with the motors, some 3mm nuts that I had laying around, and some washers. The washers simply help distribute the stress across that thin plastic you just shaved down. So after that, I mounted the flight controller, hooked everything up. I also cut around the motors here on the top plate, simply to give the motor more room to rotate. And then I added my radio to the very top plate. I taped it to the top, and then I put some foam on the top of it just so nothing touched my radio to short it out. I also put my FPV gear right on the front and tilted it down slightly because I'm not going to be racing with this one. And then I put my video transmitter right behind it. I just taped it right in between those posts. And this is pretty much what it looks like when it's done. And now it is time for a flight test. So stand by. All right, all jokes aside, that was a horrible way to go about it. I've seen about the Syma conversion on YouTube, and it just doesn't work out as well as you would think it would. There are ways of doing it, but when you put a lot of work into it, you get frustrated. I put about a month's worth of work into it, saved up money for the parts, ordered them slowly, and where the motors attach, it's just too hard on that area. So what you're going to want to do is just save yourself some trouble, buy a DJI Phantom 2 frame or a crash kit, it'll run you $39. It's about half the price of a Syma X8C. Do everything I just did, put all your stuff in there. The only difference is you're going to use a 4x4 piece of carbon fiber, but it's so much easier. I had to cut one support off so I could fit the carbon fiber plate in there. Didn't do anything to the integrity of the drone. So this is what the finished product looks like. Much cleaner, much better. Do yourself a favor and go this route. Quad Rifter out.